Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Melody. My name is Alison Pingelski. I'm the Associate Commissioner with the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities in the Division of Administration. I am responsible for the workforce development team and several of the grant projects that we're working on under the American Rescue Plan Act. The reason we started these workforce grants was no surprise to probably all of you, which is the demand for direct support professionals was increasing and the workforce was declining. And we found that more than 1 in 3 direct support professionals were leaving the workforce each year. And some of the reasons they were citing was excessive overtime, burnout, turnover in the organization, and the fact that there was low unemployment in many of the regions in New York State. So there wasn't a flood of candidates coming into the workforce. COVID-19, not just for direct support, but specifically for direct support professionals, made the workforce issues even more exacerbated. As a result, OPW added a workforce strategy goal to its strategic plan. And the goal is to promote practices that strengthen the workforce and infrastructure for voluntary and state direct support professionals. We want to invest in recruitment, we want to improve retention, and we want to enhance the competencies of the direct support and care workforce. It's interesting that these were the goals that we outlined when we started these projects. And even more so when I've had an opportunity to go out and meet with some of the direct support professionals that are actually participating in some of these projects, and to hear from them firsthand that they in fact feel that the professionalization of the direct support workforce by applying the NADSP certification is actually making them feel like there is a higher level of competency among those that are taking the training and working through the certification. But they also have said they think that this is a tool that will help with retention. Some of them are not convinced that this is a tool for recruitment, but they do feel as the profession is recognized by folks, and some of the direct support professionals said that they run into situations where people say, I don't know what a DSP is. So they feel like as people better understand what a direct support professional is and the work that they do, that will lead to a better recruitment opportunity. But right now they feel that participating in these grants are definitely going to achieve the second 2 goals. So I think it was important for us to hear actually from them that this was something they felt was being realized. So there are several workforce development grants, and they're in varying stages. So I just wanted to give you an overview of what the grant projects are and when and how you can participate. So the first grant project that kicked off and is in full stream is the National Alliance for Direct Support Professionals Credentialing Project. And I believe I saw Kathy's thumbnail photo. Kathy Brown is the project manager that has been leading that effort. Working with more than 25 organizations to get their staff credentialed in ideally all 3 levels of direct support credentials, 1, 2, and 3, and also staff are participating in the frontline supervisor credential. Unfortunately, if your organization did not respond to the RFP and receive an award, you are not able to participate in this grant, but you still are able to work with NADSP to get your staff certified, because the training that many of you are offering is accredited training through some of your existing learning management platforms. So College of Direct Support and Relias are 2 of those that I understand that many of the providers are using. And the coursework that they're offering would be coursework that the DSPs could use for their education requirement, and therefore then they would use the eBadge Academy, which is offered by NADSP, as a way for the direct support professional to offer testimonials about how they are intentionally taking what they've learned from the core competency training and applying it in the workforce. So they tell a story about their interaction and how they've applied those skills in their interactions. Many of the DSPs that are participating in this specific pilot are saying that it is a good opportunity to remind themselves of things that they learned perhaps when they first became a DSP, but also many of them are saying that they're getting some new learning out of participating in this accredited coursework because it's connecting them to the core competencies in a way that perhaps they hadn't made that connection before, or they hadn't remembered and applied in their workforce. So that testimonial that's coming from the DSPs, I think, is a really important piece to talk about, and something that we're hoping to sustain once this grant is over. So I think that if you do not have direct support professionals that are participating in this project, but you want to get your direct support professionals certified, one of these other opportunities may be a fit, or we might need to talk about how we would connect you with any DSP to get access to the eBadge platform so your DSPs can participate. The second project is a project that we are working on, and this is probably the one that we're having the hardest time getting off the ground, and that is the high school direct support training and certification. And there's a couple levels of complexity with this project, but by and large, our hope is that there is an offering in the local BOCES, and the high schools and BOCES partner together to create a pipeline of high school students that learn about what a direct support professional is in a way that they understand the code of ethics and the core competencies, and are able to leave the BOCES program with not only their high school diploma and potentially their BOCES diploma, but also they get their DSP certification. And depending on when they start the program, they might get DSP 1, or they might actually be able to get right through DSP 3. I think part of this is really the partnership with provider organizations, and that is allowing the high school students the opportunity to come into your organization and have supervised work-based learning opportunities that allow them to have the interactions that would be required for the certification. So in some cases, many of you have relationships with your local high school or with your local BOCES, and you do distinct coursework with them for specific training. In this program, we would actually train a DSP so they would get the full core competency training, and you potentially could use some of that training to fast track an onboarding process. So new employee orientation may be fast tracked by the training that these high school students would get. And again, the high schools would get accredited with any DSP because they have understood the importance of the education component, including training directly related to the core competencies, and they're able to demonstrate that to NADSP. So it's yet one more opportunity for us to get trained resources into the workforce that we might not have tapped into. One of the challenges we're running into is many of the high schools have existing health science programs, and the PCA, the HHA, the CNA, all of them have varying degrees of requirements. And with the DSP, specifically because we allow the DSP to administer medication, there are some concerns by the state education department and the Department of Health that someone who might come through the health science program in an HHA or a CNA or a PCA, if they were to also be trained as a DSP, that they might be confused as to where and when they are able to administer medication and not. So we're working with some of the local high schools. There is a high school on Long Island that does not have a health science program, so they are working to put the curriculum together by themselves, and we're hoping that we'll be able to announce that Long Island is moving towards accreditation, and that they will have a DSP only curriculum that they will deliver. We will then work with the rest of the BOCES that are interested in understanding how they're delivering that and looking at whether or not we can find a way to market this course to students. So we're hoping that we have more information as we get closer to the fall, but that one is the project that is probably the furthest from being launched. I am happy to say that the SUNY partnership did kick off. It kicked off in quite a big way. We have been going around the state. Ryan Cox, who is the director of our workforce team, and I did a lot of site visits in June. I've done some in July, and I have some more planned for August. But we've been going around to organizations and talking about these grant projects and the partnerships that we're looking for. And as a result of each of these conversations, SUNY gets a number of inquiries from DSPs looking for a way to participate in the SUNY partnership. This project is really unheard of because it's actually covering the SUNY tuition, all of the books and fees that would be applicable to attending a SUNY course is being covered under the OPWDD grant. In addition, there is also academic supports where the campus has professors and adjunct instructors who are working with the students to make sure that they understand how to put their testimonials together for the badges, to make sure that they understand the core competencies, to talk about scenarios that are happening in the workplace and how that might apply to the core competencies. So we had a pilot program happening in Corning. They used that pilot program to help to put the curriculum together and to receive accreditation status from NADSP. SUNY Corning has then shared this curriculum approach with other SUNY campuses, and we right now have a wait list of SUNY partners that are looking to launch their program. But we have contracts with 12 of them to offer the DSP Micro-credential, which is a step up from a certificate program, and it is a foundation builder for an associate's and bachelor's degree. So someone who would attend the SUNY partnership gets college courses that allow them to earn credits towards a degree. They also get the education that is required for the certification. So many of the campuses are doing both DSP 1 and DSP 2. And some of the campuses are overachieving and they are actually offering the DSP 3 and they're working on the frontline supervisor curriculum. So this is a really exciting opportunity. I know that some of the campuses had expected to get about 20 students per cohort. Each campus is doing their program a little bit differently, but by and large, it is several courses that make up a DSP 1 and several courses that make up DSP 2. And so by the time they're done, they will have more than 100 accredited hours of education. They will also have a work-based partnership. Many of them are employees of yours or looking potentially to be employed. And they will then come out with the certification. So SUNY is looking right now to see how to get some of the students off the wait list and what that might look like, but there's been an overabundance of outreach and interest in this partnership. The fourth project is the New York Alliance for Inclusion and Innovation Technical Assistance for Providers. Many of you may have heard through various communications with OPW or with the New York Alliance about the organizational self-assessment. So there was a questionnaire that was conducted early in spring that asked questions about the benefits that you offer to your employees, the culture at your organization, whether or not you feel that you're offering a realistic job preview for your direct support staff. It really got to recruitment and retention strategies. For those that participated in this survey, we also asked you to provide a survey to your direct support professionals because we wanted to see if they felt that they were receiving the same benefits that you said that you were offering to your employees. Did the direct support professionals feel like they had a realistic job preview? Did they feel like they were getting the supports that the organization said that they were offering? So we are working with the New York Alliance to now deliver a report that summarizes the statewide perspective based on those provider partners that completed the survey, and also adding the direct support professionals perspective on recruitment and retention. From this survey, we're working with the Alliance to develop a roadmap for how we will offer tools and supports for the provider community in order for you to look at some of the best practices that are happening across the state, and really to have at your fingertips information that will help you with recruitment and retention. So there is a series of podcasts that will be launched very soon. There will also be several workshops that are being planned. And we hope that through this technical assistance contract that you have additional tools that you may not have access to, or new tools that perhaps you hadn't thought of using for your recruitment and retention efforts. So all of that will be available through the Regional Centers for Workforce Transformation website. And as we add materials, we have been talking about how to make sure that you know what materials are available and how they can help. So we'll be looking to get some feedback on some of those materials. There'll be trainings associated, etc. And lastly is the University of Minnesota grant evaluation. And that project is really a partnership with providers that are participating with the National Alliance grant, high schools who are going to participate in the high school DSP training, the SUNY partnership, and the New York Alliance. So the University of Minnesota is looking at the strategies that we're employing in each of these grants. And it's looking at where did we start and where are we moving as far as some of the specific goals of each of the projects. So they're tracking the time it's taking a DSP to get certified. They're tracking the investment that you're making in allowing the staff to do the certification. They're tracking the success rate of the students in getting their badges submitted, and the number of times that they are working on resubmitting a badge. There's a whole host of metrics that they're tracking for us. And ultimately, what we're hoping is at the end of their evaluation, we are going to see that these workforce development grants have in fact improved our retention of direct support professionals. It has in fact worked to professionalize this direct support pathway, and that there is a pipeline of new candidates that we perhaps hadn't reached, or that we're reaching in a different way because of these efforts. So the University of Minnesota is looking both for individual report outs for each of the grants, but also an overarching report out of the work that OPW has done and how that has affected the direct support professional workforce. That is everything I wanted to talk about with those projects. We could not have done these projects without our partners. And so I do want to make sure to give a shout out to all of the partners, whether they're on this call or not. NADSP has really been working with us to make sure that all of the projects are successful in learning to use their platform, in making sure that they have reviewers available. They've taken all of the feedback that they've heard from the field with regard to information that the DSPs are getting back on what they need to do to resubmit their badge, the timeliness of it. They've added more reviewers and really worked with us to make sure that the SUNY team has what they need in order to stand up a number of the campuses as accredited education facilities, and also to make sure that everyone who is engaging in this credentialing and certification process has the tools that they need to be successful. And I know Kathy plays a big role in that. So Kathy, thank you. Kudos to you for the pound of flesh that you give on a daily basis to make this project successful. The New York Alliance and the regional centers, they've been an OPW partner for a long time. And so we're happy to continue that partnership through the organizational self-assessment and the technical assistance contract, and really in the partnership for the transformation efforts. Melody hosted a really nice 2-day planning session, and we had a lot of really good opportunity to interact with one another and share ideas and talk about how we can make information available to you and what that information might look like, and how we can package that, make sure that you know what your opportunities are for continued education and leveraging the tools that they make available. So Melody, thank you for that session last week. Our team was talking about it even into this week. So I appreciate you sharing that opportunity and our continued partnership. All right, I cannot see if there's questions in the chat when I'm sharing. So I'm going to stop sharing now just to see if there's questions, and I'm happy to answer anything that you have.
So Alison, this is Mel. And yes, there was a question that came in about the list of schools that are participating.
Great. Let me put into the chat right now. SUNY actually has a micro-credential page. I direct folks to that all the time. I actually have it as a bookmark on my tablet because when I go out on the road, people ask me questions and I can pull it up. So let me put that in the chat for everyone so that you have it. And I will also share the page because I think that's important. You will see the logos associated with the campuses that have been approved. We actually have several conversations that are happening this week to talk about how to get more of the campuses off the wait list. So I'm hoping that we are able to add some more campuses, but SUNY Corning was kind of the pioneer. They definitely worked very hard to do the accreditation process. There's an application. They have to provide a lot of information to NADSP to support their understanding and the mapping of the core competencies in the Code of Ethics. So SUNY Corning really took the lead in doing that, and all of the other campuses have benefited from that hard work. SUNY admin, Cindy Proctor, and I don't see her picture here, but she's been instrumental in facilitating all the communications with the campuses. They ask a lot of questions, and I know she runs interference on most of them before they come to OPW, but she has really put the sweat equity into getting as many campuses on this screen as you see, and also in working with the other ones you don't see to try to find a way for us to make it possible to add more campuses to the list. I will say that SUNY Empire is in 14 different locations across the state. So if you have an Empire State University campus near you, or you have heard of them, a lot of people equate them to an online campus, but they also offer some in-person courses. So I wouldn't rule them out if you think that it's just an online opportunity. So many of the campuses are actually starting to advertise. So we will make sure that we direct those specific advertisements to Melody so that she can share them with your group. But these are the campuses that have been approved to date. Mel, is there another question?
I've fielded some of the other ones that I knew the answers to. Oh, the list of participating high schools is just popped into the chat.
That I will have to work to share out. One of the things we're trying to do is to pair the high schools and the BOCES up with the campus. One of the opportunities that SUNY offers is what they call an affiliation, and that is where SUNY instructors who are teaching a course at a campus can train the BOCES instructors. So there is some opportunities that are coming up for the BOCES to teach the micro-credential. So when I have that final list, I'll make sure to get that out to you, Mel. I think it'll be probably a little later in August before we have that final list, but I will make sure to share that out with you to share to the group.
Wonderful.
If you have a specific school that you would like to partner with, if you want to send that into, and I will put our workforce mailbox, then we can make sure that we include that high school or BOCES in any of the communications that we send out so we don't miss someone.
Are there any online or hybrid options, or is it in person only? If there are online options, are they synchronous or asynchronous?
So I don't pretend to know that question off the top of my head. Yes, some of the campuses are doing a hybrid option. I can't tell you from the list of campuses that are there which ones are which, because I just don't have that committed to memory. But we can get you a list of those, and let me take that down as an action so I don't forget.
Next question, can you distribute the gateway or approach that an agency would need to take to get their staff to begin the credentialing process? Would you like to field that, or do you want to toss it to Kathy?
Just gonna ask Kathy if she wanted to field that question. I'm happy to, Kathy, but I don't want to put you on the spot.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, Allison. Yes, if anybody is interested in the credentialing process and or any of these that Allison has suggested, you can certainly go to the NADSP website, but you can email me directly, kbrown@nadsp.org. I'll put it in the chat. It's pretty easy, but we certainly can help you out with any of your questions specifically about credentialing.
Thank you, Kathy. Next question, how does someone register for these courses, and are they based off from life experience?
Okay, I'll take the latter part of that question first. So there is an opportunity for students to get credit towards college degrees based on life experience. In the specific case for this certification, we want to make sure that the coursework includes the core competencies. And so we want to make sure that the instruction is directly correlating to the competency and the specific skills. So there isn't a way to apply prior experience to that process. But the campuses are doing what's called a prior learning evaluation and a prior learning assessment for students that are looking to move into an associate's and a bachelor's degree program. And several students have been successful in getting level 300 and level 400 course credit for their experience as a direct support professional. OPWDD worked with SUNY Empire, and for the evaluation template that all of the direct support professionals should be using for their annual evaluations, there is an opportunity for a student to share their submitted evaluation, and they can get credit from SUNY for having a completed evaluation. I will put the link in the chat for the prior learning assessment and prior learning evaluation. So if you have questions about how that works or want to learn more about it, then I will give you the link to the page. And again, the campuses each have their process to go through. So there will be a conversation with the student about what that learning looks like. So I don't believe it's a one size fits all. It's really about working with the evaluator in order to make sure that they understand what work has been done so that they can make sure that the student gets the maximum amount of credit.
I want to also add, Elena, I think your question also was based off, are the levels based off life experience? And I'm not sure if you were asking about the credential levels, DSP 1, 2, and 3. If you were, that is strictly driven by badge submissions and obtaining the badges for each one of those levels, not based on life experience. You are certainly reflecting on your work that you've done to submit those badges, but you're not automatically given those badges based on experience. I just realized there might have been a duplicate level of question there. Let's see. Are there plans to include colleges downstate? I think there were some downstate on the list, right?
There are some downstate that are on the list. SUNY Empire definitely has a big presence there. We are working with a partnership with the College of Staten Island and Mohawk Valley Community College to make sure that the College of Staten Island has the coursework that they need in order to be able to offer the micro-credential. So we want to make sure that their education is mapped to the core competencies. It follows the accreditation standards. So we'll either be doing one of two things. Mohawk Valley will help to make sure that College of Staten Island has the curriculum and can deliver the micro-credential under the MVCC umbrella, or the College of Staten Island will have coursework that they've identified that maps to those core competencies, and we'll work with any DSP to make sure that that's accredited. So I'm going to also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nope, there's a question about specific colleges, if they happen to be the ones that are working, you know, not quite signed yet. SUNY Canton, SUNY Potsdam, North Country Community College, are any of those in the pipeline?
They are not, but I can, SUNY Potsdam,
SUNY Canton, and North Country Community College.
North Country. Nope, but I will add those to the list and we can reach out to them.
And
some
next
of the
question.
campuses that were early to onboard had already had courses and had partnerships. So those were the easiest to move forward. For those that didn't have those opportunities, they have to do work to create the curriculum. It has to be delivered for 6 months in order for them then to have the accreditation status. So some of it was just having the available resources to pull this together, but I will work with SUNY Systems and Cindy Proctor to see if it's possible for us to do some outreach to these campuses to see if it's possible to include them.
Next question is, are there any private colleges interested in offering DSP credentialing?
We did not have a private college partnership identified in the workforce grants. It was easiest for us to work with SUNY because SUNY is an agency and the community colleges are quasi-agencies, so it was easy for us to get to contract. We would have to do a competitive procurement in order to offer private colleges this opportunity, and that work would take longer than we had grant funding and time for.
Next question. Do you recommend that existing staff be credentialed? How realistic is it that someone can continue to provide their DSP service and work on credentialing with hours needed and required coursework? I can at least handle the second half of that if you'd like. Certainly
Okay.
Here at Arco Monroe, my home agency, we have 40 people at a time going through it. We've had some that already complete it. And while there are situations that it makes it somewhat difficult, certainly a lot of people are chugging their way through. We have a wall full of certificates of people that have made it through the process. So it is doable, yes. And then do you recommend existing staff to be credentialed, Allison?
So here's what I'll say about that. I think that what I have heard from the DSP community that's participating is that they would recommend it. The learning opportunity in and of itself, everyone spoke about that. And we've talked to now hundreds of DSPs. Kathy, the latest number, correct me if I'm wrong, is over 500, 533, 535, something like that. And there's more than 1,100 in the program. We hope to get close to 2,500 participating. And from my experience, and you've certainly dealt with more of the local administrators than I have, but overwhelmingly, the DSPs are saying this is something that they would recommend their organization continue to offer to their direct supports, because the learning in and of itself was a huge benefit to the individuals. Kathy,
Yeah, I think you're right on target, Allison. Yes, we've had nearly 600 people credentialed in the pilot program, which has been running since the beginning of the year. We have almost 1,200 people participating. These are all DSPs and frontline supervisors who are currently working. It is work, and it does take some time, but it's definitely possible. And as Allison said, at the end of this, when people are certified, they truly believe in their own testimony that they are better DSPs for it. They work with intention. It has improved the services that they provide, and they feel professional and recognized. So it can be done. And if anybody is interested outside, obviously, of the RFP that was already done, again, you can reach out to me directly regarding that process.
We also are compiling a video of those testimonies that we got from DSPs in some of the interviews that we did. And so we are going to share a presentation similar to what I'm delivering today, but also those testimonial videos will be incorporated in the presentation at the upcoming NADSP conference in Pennsylvania in the beginning of September. I'm happy to come back and share excerpts from the video so that you can hear yourself from those DSPs, because it's one thing for us to say, we hope that this is the outcome of the project. It was a whole other experience to hear from the direct support professionals themselves that this is a worthwhile effort. Every one of them that are participating said what Kathy said, which it was hard. It's not easy to do while you're working as a DSP, but every one of them said they absolutely would recommend it to a friend and colleague, and they would absolutely encourage their provider organization to offer it to others. So I think just the DSP support and commitment, there's some healthy competitions that happen amongst the DSPs that are taking the certification. And it was fun to see folks across the provider organizations that maybe don't work in the same home or don't even work the same shift as others really kind of come together in a way that really supported kind of the familial connection. A lot of the DSPs said, I started in as a DSP because my mom, my sister, my aunt, my neighbor, there was some connection to why they got started as a DSP, and the fact that they then are sharing that desire with others and are bringing them into the workforce because there's that familial connection. And then to see the direct support professionals who are participating in this certification program also then kind of becoming a new network in the organizations. It was just incredibly overwhelming to see that. There was definitely a sense of kinship and partnership, and they want each other to succeed. They want to make sure that they're encouraging somebody who might have gotten a denial. No, go ahead, resubmit it. It'll get approved. And, think about when you did this, or I remember that you told me a story about that, and just the support that they're providing to each other. And the local administrators are also a huge factor in this. So that between the organization support and the local administrator support, and those are sort of, I kind of refer to them as the certification counselors. Those are the ones that talk with the DSPs. They pump them up. They, encourage them to persevere and to resubmit and not get discouraged if they are not successful the first time. And those are really kind of the silent warriors that you don't necessarily think about when you talk about the certification program. And Kathy is out there on a regular basis, encouraging them and supporting them. And I think that structure with the organization support, with the local administrator structure, and then with the DSP kind of cohort mentality, I definitely think that has helped the DSPs that I've spoken to be successful in achieving the certification.
Absolutely agree. And to add, I think, the next question is there a way to participate if we didn't participate in the RFP? And Alison previously said not as part of the RFP, but there's certainly ways to become involved in credentialing. And I do see that there's a movement going on. And now that more and more people are, participating, there's more agencies interested in it. And so, I'm sitting here thinking, Kath, I think it's time for us to, do another workshop in the very near future for agencies to learn more about the credentialing process, what it involves for DSPs, and how to get involved if they are interested. Would you agree?
Great idea, Mel. We have a wonderful partnership with the regional centers. So yeah, let's put that together.
Absolutely. So you can watch for that on our events page and promos that we'll make sure to have NADSP present a little bit more about that process and what it involves for everyone. And let's see.
Just one other thing on that, Mel, too. I think with regard to the resources, I'll put the eBadge Academy link into the chat. So a lot of folks hadn't actually looked at this before. So as we started going out and talking to people who weren't participating, I always share this link because there is a tremendous amount of information that's available. So as you're thinking about maybe participating in the upcoming event, I would take a look at what's out there, because we know that many of you have a learning management system. And if you have one of the ones that's accredited, your staff probably already have access to accredited training. And it's a matter of then them doing the testimonial or the badges where they talk about how they applied that in the workforce. And so I think that there's a very small investment that the provider organizations can make to get access to the eBadge Academy, and then allow their staff to participate. Unfortunately, with the grant, we were able to offer some bonuses to folks that did get certified. So that might be something that your organization would have to look to see if that's something possible. I did hear from many of the provider organizations that they have offered staff incremental increases. So as they got certified, they are paying those certified DSPs a little bit more to reward them for making the investment to do the badges, but really because it's helping the organization. So I'm not saying you have to pay your DSPs more. I'm not saying that OPW can pay your DSPs more, but it is something to consider in the grand scheme of how you might participate and what that might look like for your organization and for your DSPs.
Awesome. There was also a question about what are NADSP badges, and hopefully we'll cover that in our future workshop. But essentially, it's a testimonial of work that you've done. There's prompts to each question, and they're virtual badges that you earn. So for example, the badge on translating terms would ask a question such as, tell me about a time in which you've had to translate professional jargon to someone you support, and how does that correlate to the code of ethics? And so you would write a brief essay or summary addressing those two questions, submit it, a reviewer checks it out, and they either approve or they send you what is kind of missing from that submission in order to achieve that badge. Hopefully that helps. And then finally, last question that I see for now, it's a big one, Allison, you ready? Is there any talk about increases in reimbursement rates to increase DSP rates if they become credentialed?
So we are always trying to find ways for that to be possible. I know that we send, as an organization, a number of surveys asking for information about your organization. It's always a question that we get asked. There is nothing that I can tell you that is going to happen in the next couple of months, but I know that we are looking at what other states are doing and looking to see if there is some opportunity that we can leverage what they're doing in New York State to offer some additional compensation, but there is nothing that has been confirmed or approved that we can offer today.
But certainly the professionalization of the field in general gives us leverage per se with government in general. So it's not a bad thing. But there's just no.
Well, I can tell you, thanks for saying that, Mel. That reminded me, the occupational code is a question that I get a lot. And it looks like there is some movement on the federal front. So obviously we would advocate for the occupational code, and we would provide information on how we see that would be helpful. I definitely think having the additional data and the metrics is one of those things that will help us to in our advocacy for additional compensation. Also, the NCI data that you all provide on an annual basis, I know it's time consuming. OPW submitted their first time this year, so I know how long it takes, and I know it's not a simple response, but the NCI data definitely is also a way to help get the profession recognized. So there's lots of things that we're doing to try to move that forward. And hopefully that some point in the future, we can tell you what some other options might be based on our research with other states.
Awesome. Last call for questions. Anybody have anything else you'd like to ask? Feel free to unmute if you'd like to ask it verbally, or you can type it in the chat box.
And Mel, as we were talking, when I put the link to the NADSP eBadge Academy, I also put the course catalog that shows all of the badges. So if someone really was interested, they could see the different badges on that link.
Awesome. Anything else? Very good. Well, again, I thank you all for joining us today. Alison, thank you for sharing all the information about the opportunities for DSPs across the state. And as always, please make sure to check out our events on workforcetransformation.org. We did a lot of planning last week, and so we have some great things coming up for you for what we planned about the next 4 or 5 months out. So keep an eye out for all of those, and we hope to see you on those calls. Oh, suggestion. Maybe the organization can provide images that could be shared on LinkedIn and via social media to help advocate for the advancement of direct support professionals. And can you link the events page? Yes, I will make sure to put that in. Give me just a moment. There you go. Any other questions?
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate, Mel, the time today and appreciate the questions. If you have employees that are interested on the SUNY Direct Support Professional Micro-credential page, there's an interest form. Happy to have people submit. I saw the SUNY Brockport thing come up. I'll add them to the list.
Okay. So currently not participating, she's adding them, and a list of agencies that are sponsoring employees seeking those micro-credentials. Do we have a list of that?
I don't think I do.
Corning and Niagara area are what the most active right now, right?
Many of the campuses are getting ready to launch their August starts. So I know Dutchess is launching, and they have partners. Let me see if I can pull that together. I'm not sure. So I need to get a list of the BOCES and providers that are partnering.
And a request to share the PowerPoint. Can you share that with me, Alison, so I can share it out to those that registered?
Can do. I'll drop it in a PDF and I'll send it over to you.
Wonderful. All right, going to end recording. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you down the road.
Thank you.